What could be worse than being trapped at the bottom of the ocean? How about being trapped at the bottom of the ocean in the Arctic? Which did a quick peek at debris.
Why didn't you tell me you're not here?
Debris is a first-person narrative exploration shooter developed by Moonray Studio and is their first original project. The company has been around for at least 10 years according to their website. During that time, they've mostly worked on mobile or web games, among other things in collaboration with television networks like Teletoon. Apparently, for their first lone foray into game development, they decided to create their own engine as well as other tech, so it seems these guys have a decent idea of what they are doing. Debris itself is a pretty good looking game when there's actually something to look at. The basic story is that you're part of a film crew who are documenting some kind of groundbreaking discovery. Hidden deep within the waters of the Arctic are the remnants of some long-gone meteorite that gave off some kind of clean and extremely efficient energy called debris. It's a discovery that could change the world as we know it, but that's only if the crew can show off what they found. Due to some unforeseen reason, everything goes to crap, as everything tends to do in video games, and everyone finds themselves trapped in a frozen labyrinth in the Arctic depths and separated from each other. Thankfully, they aren't completely out of luck, as there is a way to get to the surface and call for help, but it's not going to be easy. While the crew is separated, they aren't fully alone and are able to communicate with each other over a radio system. Sonia, one of the other crew members, finds herself locked within a dark, flooded cavern with no way out, while both you and a guy named Chris are free but separated. A good bit of the game focuses on just trying to join up with everybody else that you can in order to try to get out of this really horrible situation.
One shot. Come on, buddy. We have to try.
Thrusters enabled.
The only physical companion you have to assist you in not dying a cold and watery death is a little squid robot controlled by Sonia. While she can't be there herself, she can be there in spirit with the little dude. This squid bot and a very basic futuristic harpoon gun looking thing is pretty much all you got to work with, and you constantly have to be careful with how you use them. Both you and the squid have a power meter in order to function. The squid's lets it move, and yours lets you stay alive. Doing just about anything costs some amount of power, and while there's a way to even out how much power both you and the squid bot have, it's only a matter of time before you'll need more. Debris, being an energy source, is rather helpful in this situation, but it's also rather dangerous. The stuff is possibly very radioactive, meaning you can't get all that close to it yourself. The Squidbot, being a machine and not a squishy human being, can get in close and collect the stuff as well as quickly convert it to energy to share with you, but this only works as long as the thing's functioning in the first place. The local wildlife has grown rather fond of the debris and aren't super happy about you taking it all for yourself, or just being alive for that matter. They'll attack both you and the squid if they get the chance, and collecting debris usually attracts their wrath. Not every animal down here is openly hostile, as some are simply content with their life and just hang around, like these giant, eerie, humming fish. Others, such as sharks, are a bit more aggressive. Basic fish are easy enough to deal with by just shooting them, but sharks can take a good bit of damage, and every shot uses up energy, putting you closer and closer to death's door. Sections where you have to deal with them usually offer safe areas by letting players hide in some kind of seaweed, but a good bit of the game is generally empty and void of pretty much anything. Debris levels use a basic A to B design, while combining claustrophobic tunnels with some larger cave systems. The main issue is that these larger areas tend to look the same all around due to the sparseness of vegetation and how mostly everything uses the same looking ice and rock textures for walls and ceilings. It can make it difficult to find where exactly the game wants you to go, especially when there are multiple tunnels, but only one correct way to continue. There was this one section where the only tunnel that I found led to a current that I couldn't swim up against, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out if there was a way to push through it before eventually discovering there was actually a second path further back that I was supposed to go down and had completely missed it. This kind of thing happened a little bit too often for my liking. While I found the story to stay interesting enough throughout the length of the game, both its level design and combat take away from the experience. Narratively driven exploration games like this bank on both their ability to deliver a compelling narrative as well as unique and eye-catching environments to explore. The game is able to manage this some of the time when it incorporates different kinds of flora and fauna, and I love seeing how the creatures down here seem to be affected by the debris. But so much of the game is just blank and empty ice and rock and dark areas for such long stretches that it quickly makes the game feel repetitive. That's really not something you want to see in most games, let alone in one as short as Debris that took me only around 3 hours to get through. Combat is pretty basic as well. Having to judge whether or not to shoot or save the energy for later is about as complicated as things get. There's only one weapon to use, and it's not all that satisfying either. The thing's rather slow to fire, which makes missing shots annoying for both the wasted energy and the time it'll take till you can fire again. You can also use it to send out flares that'll light up your surroundings, and fish will sometimes be attracted to them, but that's pretty much it. Honestly, I felt like the combat took away from the overall game due to how bare bones it is and how its implementation felt sorta shoehorned in. I had a similar feeling with another underwater narratively driven exploration game called Narcosis a while back. But combat was sparse enough in that game to not have as much of an impact, unlike in Debris. The most interesting thing Debris does is really all with its narrative. When Moonray was developing the game, they had an overall goal in mind, which was to raise awareness for psychosis, a mental disorder characterized by a disconnection from reality. The game doesn't try to hide this from players, which helps bring a new light to the overall narrative as things progress. There are many times where players will find themselves in odd situations, be it dodging giant worms popping out of the ground or uncovering audio logs by swimming to some kinda clam plant thing. I don't know what it's supposed to be. The game alludes to the idea that what the player character is experiencing may or may not be real within the world of the game, but doesn't flat out tell you what is and what isn't. There's so much unknown about the fictional substance Debris that it's possible it could be mutating the wildlife as well as having carved out the caves in general due to melting through the ice. It's also possible that the close proximity to the debris, along with the stress of the situation you find yourself in, are causing you to hallucinate what you see throughout the game. The constant question of what's real and what's not was just about the only thing that kept me invested throughout my time with Debris, which is a shame since its setup has a lot of potential. Overall, I was kind of disappointed with Debris since it became more of an annoyance to get through the more I played it. I really feel like it should have chosen only a few of its ideas to focus on instead of trying to do a little bit of everything. If you're going to rely on narrative, then that narrative has to be engaging. If you're going to have exploration, then the world to explore has to be interesting. And if you're going to have combat, then the combat needs to be satisfying on some level. Sadly, I found Debris to only do one of these things well for me, but perhaps other people will feel differently about it. If you find an underwater exploration to sound like a good time, then give Debris a try. Who knows, you may just enjoy it, or, it's possible, you just hallucinated the whole thing. Thanks for watching. I'm Omega Man, and I'll talk to you guys later. Want to see more of my stuff? Click on the video on the left for a quick peek at Warhammer Vermintide 2, a co-op first-person hack-and-slash about killing a seemingly endless amount of rats. Or click on the video on the right for a review of Metro 2033, a hardcore first-person shooter set in post-apocalyptic Russia.